Okay, so we're here to introduce the students to RAD5109, and then the two people responsible for this unit is myself, Imelda Williams, and then also Tony Smith. So the two of us manage the unit, the running of it, but also the assessment thereof. Monash University recognizes that its Australian campuses are located on the unceded lands of the people of the Kulin Nations and pays its respects to their elders past and present. Here's our contact emails, which is the best way to get hold of us. So if you need to contact us, please just email us at our Monash email accounts. And this is just tonight's intro Zoom link. I'm not going to go to the Moodle site because we've gone over this, but yeah, so just to explain briefly, you've got the unit dashboard under the unit information, which I'm quite sure a lot of you have gone over yet already, where we have got the most important information like the timetable, links to the library, and the assessments under learning. So as we go through the semester, we will add more weeks because we release the material on a week-by-week basis. So this will expand. So at the moment, you're only seeing the getting started, which was O week and then week 1. And then under the assessment tab, that's where all of your assessments sit. And then under support, that's where you can have links to if you need to apply for special consideration or any supports with library or any of those things. So you can access it directly from the Moodle site. And this is just the overall learning outcomes for the course itself so that you can see where RAD5109 sits in M4020. And then this is the learning outcome. So for this unit, we are focusing on the pelvic girdle and the lower limbs, and then the thoracic and lumbar spine. So your Moodle site is your main resource, and we release material on a week-by-week basis. We try to release it on a Friday because students quite often work over weekends. You will also find that there is a resource, the image interpretation manual that's on the Moodle site. You can download the whole book, but we will direct you to which pages you need to go through in the Moodle books as well. So we present all material as Moodle books, and that will include recorded PowerPoint presentations. There's also a direct reading list, and that includes ebooks. So basically, you don't need to go and purchase books because you can access these books directly online. And we also link the material, the weekly material, to specific pages of the ebooks. We will have 2 catch-up tutorials, and that will be on the 8th of May and the 28th of May, and it will start from 6:30 p.m. And during that catch-up tutorials, the main thing is if you've got any questions, if there's anything you want to suggest, that's basically what the catch-up tutorials is about. We will have 2 formative tests we've got 1 exam. So there's 2 formative tests to break up the material as you prepare for the exam. So there'll be one on the 5th of May and another one on the 26th of May. Now we use image manipulation software in our ISAP cases with a formative test and also with a summative exam. So all images that we use, you can use the image manipulation software to zoom in, to change the windowing and so forth. For exams, though, you will have specific login details to access the software. Tony, I'm not going to spend time on this. Do you maybe want to say a quick word about this, a few sentences?
I don't know whether it's really necessary, but I suppose for students who are listening to the recording, this Collective Minds Radiology is a website that you can go and visit. It's case-based, and people, practitioners, including radiographers and radiologists and other health professionals as well can actually post imaging cases onto this website. Reporting radiographers do it as well. It's actually was set up by a reporting radiographer who was an ex-student of mine and is now based in Sweden. Um, and if you want to go on there and have a look at the cases, then you can actually have a bit of a go yourself at interpreting them. But then you can put your opinion up, post your opinion, and other people do that as well. So lots of other people will actually give an opinion on particular cases, and they'll I think it's an interesting way to learn. Some of the cases are a little bit obscure. Some of the cases are more run of the mill. And it's a good way just to test yourself. So there's a link there. It's a free registration, so it doesn't cost you anything. And there's a sample case. You can link to those using the links off this slide. And the link down the bottom there is Dr. Ian Cowan's a radiologist from Christchurch in New Zealand. He, like me, is actually not working full time anymore. And Ian and I taught together for a little while on a project, which was based around image interpretation for radiographers. And then after that, Ian created his own website, IC X-rays, or Ian Cowan X-rays. And it contains a lot of the material we used in teaching, but it's really very well presented and easy to follow. Ian's a great teacher. It doesn't have voiceover, but you can click through the slides and you can learn a heck of a lot. So at times during the course, I'll refer to this and give links to Ian Cowan X-rays for specific abnormalities and appearances on radiographs that I think are well explained there, probably more so than in lots of other places. It's a great site to go and have a look at. So I think that's all I've got to say. Oh, there is a bit on Collective Minds about artificial intelligence, use of scanning artificial intelligence in interpreting radiographs, which I think is also interesting for you to have a look at. Some of the cases are interpreted by artificial intelligence programs, and you get the results of that, and you can compare that with your interpretation, and as do other people, and that's quite an interesting thing to actually see in place. I think I'll leave it at that, Imelda.
Thanks, Tony. So there's 3 assessments for RAD5109. The first one is an ISAP case, and the waiting for that is 30%. And there's 2 parts to it. You've got a CAP report and a CR report, and the submission dates are the 11th of April, and the CR report is a week later. I'll talk about that in another slide. And your second one is an online exam, which has a weighting of 40%. That's quite a big exam because it covers lots of weeks, all of the material that we've basically gone through for this unit. And that will take place during the formal exam period of the university, which is on the 12th of June. And that is a competency hurdle, which means you need to pass that exam at least 50%. And then the last one is a clinical portfolio, has a weighting of 30%. It's also a competency hurdle, and the resources for the clinical portfolio is under this week. And after this, I'll quickly go through a PowerPoint presentation dedicated to the clinical portfolio. And the deadline for that is the 25th of June. Just about academic integrity, if you haven't done the compulsory unit, once over the course, I would strongly recommend that you do that, because if you haven't done it, you might receive an email that say that you will not have access to your Moodle site without completing it. And then just a little bit about artificial intelligence. The university is now buying into artificial intelligence. There's lots of resources under the support tab, Learn HQ, about how to use artificial intelligence responsible. So I would strongly recommend that you check that Learn HQ website. However, having said that, all our assessments require for you to demonstrate your own knowledge and your skills that you have developed through this unit. So therefore, AI is not allowed with any of the assessments. The special consideration, you can find that under the support tab. Short extension, that's 2 calendar days. So if an assessment falls on a Friday, the extension will be to the Sunday. However, if you need a longer time, then you need to complete a formal special consideration form, and for that you will require supporting documentation. For the short extension, you don't need supporting documentation. We do not handle the applications. It's handled by the SpecCon team. They just inform me afterwards that it has been approved. Now, the ISAP case, the first part is the clinical action plan, and the second part is the comparative report. The overall word count is 2,000, with the clinical action plan, the majority, it's 1,500 words, and the university has a leeway of 10%, which means it can be 10% less or 10% more in terms of word count. Now, as postgrad students, you're only allowed one submission, which means you have to ensure that your assignment, your report is absolutely correct grammatically and also in terms of your references, because once you submit, you can't try to resubmit that again. It then goes into the Turnitin integrated software, where it will be checked for any signs of plagiarism. All assignments will be available to submit via the Moodle Dropbox. The expert's report will only become available after you've submitted your CAP report and only when the deadline has been reached. So the main thing is here, you're writing up, you're given a case and you have to respond to professional issues and submit your CAP report. You then get the expert's report about that case, and you need to compare and contrast your CAP with the expert and then produce a summary of your findings on the CR report. And that is normally submitted a week later. So the ISAP case will be available from next week, and it will have all the information required. I've already mentioned the submission dates. So the online exam, the resources there is the weekly material that you will go through, and from week 3, all that material, also the Moodle books as well. And then we've got the image interpretation manual. I would strongly encourage that you do undertake the 2 formative tests, because it will give you a very fair idea of the types of questions that you can expect. And there will also be video recorded feedback. But if there's anything that you question, please feel free to contact us. So during this exam, you will have access to the image manipulation software, and the date for that is on Thursday, the 12th of June. It's a long exam. It's 100 minutes long. So I would strongly encourage for you to take some time off before you start the exam. You can undertake the exam anytime from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 in the evening, but please ensure that you leave enough time in the evening to submit your exam before the 8 p.m. deadline, because the exam will just close down. The other important thing to remember is once you start the exam, you've got to finish it. So you can't start at 8 and think, I'll come back at 10 again. You only get one opportunity to undertake the exam at that time. I always send out an email before the exam to ask that you inform me more or less of what time you would be starting. Doesn't mean that time is cast in stone. The two things for that is I then provide you with the login details for the exam as well for the image manipulation software. But I also then make sure that I'm available at my computer in case you run into any trouble like internet dropping off and things like that. So the deadline for the portfolio is on the 25th of June. I think with the clinical portfolio, I'm not going to go through it now because we do have a presentation for that. So I'm going to just skip over the whole of the clinical portfolio. If you've got any questions about any of the things that's been discussed, please feel free to contact either myself or Tony.